Late phone calls are always unsettling and scary, especially when they come after you thought the day had finally come to an end. Anna seemed to be doing well. The day had passed and she could retire comfortably, oblivious to worries and anxieties. Suddenly, a call interrupted the tranquility. As she answered the phone, a little girl's voice said, "Hello, I need Anna," expressing the words with diligence and clarity. Apparently, a first grader, since no one among her acquaintances had children of that age. Too young for her friends' children and a little too old for her grandchildren. "Is that her?" she answered in surprise. "Please pick me up at the orphanage," the little girl said just as clearly. Anne, both indignant and alarmed, abruptly inquired, "What is this joke?" The joke was indeed inappropriate and cruel. Unfortunately, Anne was turning 50 that day, an important milestone. People usually prepare for such occasions, and she had done so too, but in a peculiar way. She had warned everyone she knew that there would be no celebration and told her husband that she did not want guests or gifts. But Anne, turning 50, is an important milestone, her husband told her. "No celebrations for me." As the anniversary of our daughter's death is coming up the day after tomorrow, I have not celebrated a birthday for 7 years. The celebrations ended for me 7 years ago in a plane crash, in which our only daughter, Mariana, unexpectedly perished. This tragedy was a deep shock for her parents. They did not even know that Mariana had boarded a plane. Contact was established when documents and some belongings were found among the remains of the deceased. Anna was taken to identify her daughter that same day, and her anxiety intensified. Nikolai, who had come to visit his wife in the hospital, did not recognize her. She had aged abruptly by about 10 years, not because of heart problems. She asked her husband about what had happened during the identification. They explained to me that they were going to gather for the funeral here. Will they put what is left to be buried in the coffin? Of course, you probably shouldn't think about being discharged for now. You look very ill. How can I not go to the funeral? Do you think I'm just saying that? I'll go, Nikolai. It can't get any worse for me anyway. We haven't seen our daughter for 2 years and now we won't see her again. We don't know how she has changed in these 2 years. They haven't seen anything. They said they would determine it through DNA, but it won't be soon. So take care of yourself, Anna. We are the only ones left for each other. As for Marina, there is almost nothing left. We knew nothing. How could this happen, Nikolai? Why didn't I know anything about my daughter? How can I live with this? She didn't cry. In her eyes there was only horror and infinite sorrow. This breakup between parents and daughter occurred 2 years ago. Marina had just finished high school, without honors, but decently. Her parents were proud of their beautiful and intelligent daughter, and her future seemed simple and clear. Marina already knew which university she would attend, and there was no doubt about her acceptance. She prepared seriously, attended the courses and planned to graduate, work, and eventually get married and have children. Her parents were so immersed in this successful future that they did not notice what was happening to their daughter in the present. Apparently, nothing extraordinary was happening. She studied diligently, went to the library, attended courses, and met with nice girls her parents had known since childhood. Nothing seemed to be wrong. The girl was changing, growing better in every way, becoming a happy young woman. Her parents were happy for her, but strangely enough, it never occurred to them that the reason for their daughter's happiness might not be the completion of secondary school, but something completely different, which also happened to girls her age. Mariana confessed this to them one summer afternoon, surprising them with the news. When her mother asked her about college, she suddenly said, "Mom, Dad, forgive me for hiding it, but with my tuition we will have to wait a while. I have decided to get married." Nikolai took it as a joke and smiled, though somewhat cautiously. Anna was more serious. "What are you saying, Mariana? It is not too early for you to get married. Let us make more realistic plans. What is unrealistic about marriage? Mariana suddenly became more serious, and her parents immediately understood that the jokes were over. I fell in love with him, and he loves me. He doesn't just invite me for a walk, he invites me to marry him. Why should I refuse? And why should you accept? What kind of marriage is this right after school? And what about college? What is this mysterious man? We can find out everything at once. Ask more seriously, said the mother. You don't know him. He's not from our town. He came here on business. We've been together for 3 months, but now he's back home and calling me. I'll be gone literally in a few days. Living without him is too soon for me, said the daughter. Nonsense. What kind of marriage is this? Here today, gone tomorrow. Loving and loving. Why didn't he come to see us? Why didn't he introduce himself to you? Do serious people invite girls to get married? You wouldn't say such nonsense, Mariana. Nikolai intervened, not yet realizing the gravity of the moment. Dad, forgive me, but that we should wait until after graduation and all that is so old-fashioned. It seems like scenes from a television series. No one does that in real life anymore. We love each other. Isn't that enough? Ariana started to get noticeably nervous. Okay, let's assume that's true. But what stopped her from introducing herself to us? She's not buying a chicken. She's taking our daughter in marriage. And we're not going to hand you strangers, Anna stated. That's why I knew all these questions and interrogations would start when we met. We won't give her away too soon. You have to finish college first and all that. Do you think she cared about that? Do you think I cared? I need it. You won't stop me, Mariana declared, walking away and locking herself in her room. Those were the last words her parents heard from her. In vain, both her father and mother knocked on her door, trying to speak. Mariana just turned up the music. She's grown up and is getting married. What do you think? Is she serious? Nikolai asked his wife before going to bed. What do you mean? I guess she wanted to feel like an adult. I hope everything will be cleared up in the morning, although, honestly, I didn't expect so much rebelliousness from her, said his wife. Anna knocked on her daughter's door, determined to reconcile and promise that they would talk more seriously and thoughtfully. But Mariana did not answer. The door to her room was open. Things were in disarray. And she was not there. Nikolai took a look. He called her husband. Our little bird has flown away. It is not laziness. She asks me where it has gone. We will ask when it returns, Anna mused. Perhaps to a friend's house, or she is simply wandering the streets to show how offended she is. To make us feel ashamed for not letting her marry. Maybe she likes to attract attention, Nikolai said, genuinely worried. I haven't recognized Mariana lately, especially after what happened yesterday. When the parents came home from work in the evening, they saw that their daughter wasn't at home and most likely hadn't come back. It wasn't just strange, it was worrying. Where could Mariana be all day? They started calling their friends, but none of them knew where Mariana was. They hadn't seen her today or yesterday. They're probably lying. These girls are hiding something. It's their female solidarity, Nikolai complained. Where could she be all day long if she doesn't answer calls? Mariana didn't answer and eventually turned off the phone. It was very strange, and her parents didn't know what to do, where to look for their daughter. At first, they were just angry with her for behaving like that. But later, frustration turned into concern. Such a thing, with their daughter leaving at night without warning, had never happened before. Anna entered Marina's room to see at least what she had left behind. After inspecting her daughter's belongings, she informed her husband, Nikolai, it seems that she really has left home. Look, there are no documents and many of her things. Look at the table. Maybe she left a note. She can't run away like that. She must understand that we will worry. But there is nothing, no note. It could be that some stranger lured her away. It can't be that no one has seen or knows this person. We are left with doubt, says the mother, lost in her speculations. Maybe we should have thought about all this earlier. It's too late now. The most terrible thing is that she said she's not from here. She might really have run away to another city. Where will we look for her now, the father wonders. We didn't know, Nikolai. We didn't take her words seriously. I thought it was a joke, a game of imagination. But someone fell in love with her, invited her somewhere. She was considering it as a possible option. It turns out that she was already thinking about leaving yesterday. I can't understand this. How can she want to leave like this? She's never been like this before. On the verge of panic, Anna couldn't understand her daughter's sudden change. Her husband tried his best to calm her down. She can't have changed so much in one day. Maybe she really did go somewhere and will come back. At least she'll let us know. Don't despair. Maybe she just wanted to scare us like this. She's taken her things and is hiding somewhere. Only little kids are so scary, not an adult girl. We should have questioned her friends more. Find out if she said anything to anyone. She spent a lot of time with them. We should call them even though it's already night. Her friends knew very little about it. Yes, Mariana had a boyfriend, but who he was and what his name was, nobody knows. It seems he wasn't from our town, but it's not known where exactly he was from either. Mariana was reserved. She didn't reveal anything. A couple of girls saw him, but they couldn't describe him well because they only saw him from a distance. A tall young man, maybe 20 or older. Mariana had distanced herself from them lately, not sharing anything about herself or her lover. She didn't attend preparatory classes at the institute. She dropped out almost immediately, probably after meeting this boy. Nikolai sighed. We should have gone to the police straight away. They could have questioned them. They would have certainly found out a lot more. Let's go now. The police will contact them anyway, replied Anna. However, at the police station they met with little sympathy. When they asked them when and under what circumstances their daughter had disappeared, they shrugged their shoulders. What's the problem? A grown-up girl fell in love. She wanted to get married. Her parents were against it. She avoided trouble. There is nothing new. Maybe she will come back after the marriage is formalized. There is nothing to fear. Please understand, if you who live with your daughter do not know anything about her, who and how should we look for her? We will start looking for the girl, but do not forget to inform us immediately when your daughter returns. There was nothing to report. Mariana did not return and gave no sign of herself. The police made little effort, or they simply did not know where to look for the missing girl. Mariana's parents gradually calmed down. After all, it was impossible to live in constant worry. Life went on without their daughter. Nikolai and Anna spoke less often about Mariana. They almost stopped politely calling the police and greeted Mariana's old friends in the street. I think Mariana is alive. I'm sorry, but doesn't she feel anything? Has she forgotten us completely? Anna would sometimes say, horrified by such a suggestion. I don't know, Anna, I don't know, Nikolai replied. I can't stop thinking about it. We were probably somehow not the right parents, the ones she dreamed of, the ones she wanted to love. Nikolai answered, completely in the dark. 2 years passed, and then a phone call came. A compassionate female voice asked them who they were to Mariana. What happened next forever deprived them of hope and ended their ability to enjoy life. Of course, Mariana did not forget her parents. She was too happy in her new life. She went to live with her beloved Alexei in a southern city. Completely certain that he loved her and was waiting for her, she would soon become a member of another family, where, she believed, there would be more understanding. She was not mistaken in her expectations. Indeed, Alexei welcomed her with enthusiasm, hugging and kissing her, assuring her of his unwavering feelings after a few weeks of separation. What were you thinking, my dear? Mariana said to him. How could I forget you? I was only thinking about whether you would come or not, and I was so afraid that you would change your mind. How could I change my mind? I was thinking about how to tell my parents all this. You don't know what a fuss there was at home when I told them I was getting married. I'm so happy you're here. You can't imagine how long I've waited for you. I felt so lonely without you. It seemed like the sun didn't even shine until you came. Alexei lived in a small town near the sea. The lovers spent their whole days walking or swimming in the sea. Mariana was happy even though Alexei had no intention of introducing her to his relatives, which did not arouse any suspicion. She hadn't come here to meet his family. She hoped for a legal marriage, but they hadn't talked about it yet. Alexei simply rented a room from an old woman and put her up there. He lived somewhere, as he put it, with relatives, where it would be uncomfortable for Mariana because of the many children, noise and unnecessary questions. Do you need that? And most importantly, I don't want you to get involved in the work at Aunt's house. There is so much to do, a garden, etc. Why bother with all that if you already think I spend too much? I will come to see you as often as I can, he said. I am busy with work now and cannot be with you constantly. But you see, I strive to be with you every minute. Well, my love, I understand everything. I also want to be with you every minute. But if it is impossible, what can we do? Yes, I would help your family too, but I don't know anything. I perfectly understand that men must work to support their families. After all, we are already a family, aren't we? Of course we are a family. You are my only family. There is no one closer and dearer to me than you. My heart stops with happiness at these words. So Alexei truly loves her and will never abandon her. They will always be together. A legitimate family. Of course, they will get married, but a little later, possibly in her hometown. Maybe even her parents will be present at the wedding. From time to time, the girl thought about her parents. When she woke up in the morning, she thought about sending them at least a telegram with 3 words: live, good, happy. They must be worried about not knowing where she is, but she quickly dismissed the idea. Maybe through a telegram they could find out her whereabouts, and she could expect anything from her parents. They could take drastic measures. Come here and disturb her happiness with the ex-ISIS. They were completely free now. They had no obligations to anyone. They lived life to the fullest. They went to amusement parks. They felt like children on carousels. They ate ice cream and cotton candy. In the evenings, they went to the beach, where they met young and free people, feeling absolutely happy. A couple of months passed. One morning, Mariana realized that something was wrong with her. Unbridled joy sometimes turned into melancholy, and from time to time she became irritated by everything, including Alexei. The girl diligently hid her condition from Alexei, not understanding what was happening. He did not immediately understand the reason and nature of her condition, but over time, he guessed that she was pregnant. This changed many things, including their relationship. Mariana, naturally, had no intention of hiding it from her beloved. She immediately told Alexei, "You know, we will soon have a baby." This news did not cut short her happiness. Alexei, having heard it, grabbed his beloved and spun her around the room. "My dear, my beloved, I'm going to be a father. I never thought that this would happen so soon." "What do you think, boy or girl?" Mariana laughed and said, "I am very happy too. Let's see what happens, but tell me, what will become of us after that? We will probably have to formalize our relationship somehow, and we need stable accommodation and a steady income. Maybe I should find a job to cover my maternity leave. What do you think? What are you thinking? What kind of work do you need now? My wife will never work. As for formalizing our relationship, you are right, of course. Yes, we will definitely do that. But you know, I think it's better to do it after the baby is born. For now, though, we can sign some papers and have the wedding later. As for housing and work, you're right. I'll have to work twice as hard, but that's okay. A good friend of mine recently offered me a very profitable business, so we'll have enough money. I'll do my best to make sure my wife and child never need anything." These words are probably every woman's dream, and Mariana once again felt lucky to be with her beloved. It would be nice to inform our parents about this. They should probably know that they will soon be grandparents. But this thought only flickered and disappeared. By then, Mariana had already distanced herself from her parents and her past life. Alexei's job did not cross her mind. After all, they lived off his money, and it would be foolish to question him. The possibility that his activities were not entirely honest did not occur to her, and neither did Alexei. She understood that law enforcement might ask her questions, but so far there had been none, so she believed there was a chance that it would never happen. Unfortunately, she was wrong. The next job he proposed to his comrade was not only dangerous, but downright criminal. They decided to rob the apartment of a high-ranking official when they heard that he was leaving for his dacha. The young men entered the apartment, began to take valuables, and the alerted neighbors noticed and called the police. Alexei ended up in court. His guilt was obvious, and since he was not married, Mariana's pregnancy did not mitigate his sentence. She spent several years in prison. Mariana was left alone, without money, housing, or assistance. It seemed like the perfect time to turn to her parents, but pride prevented her from doing so. Mariana understood that her parents loved her and would never abandon her in anguish, but she also anticipated their reaction to such news. "Well done, my child. It turns out that for more than half a year, your parents were unnecessary. You were here swimming in the sea with your criminal. And now that he is fortunately in prison, you suddenly remember that you have a mother and a father. They are obliged to feed you, clothe you, and provide for you and the child. You have really pleased us. We will not say anything negative. And of course, we will help you." But about your former freedoms, he did not know how his parents would react to his pain, but he understood that if they said exactly that, they would be absolutely right. Therefore, she decided to keep quiet during her stay in this city and her friends. Mariana was ready to work and take care not only of herself, but also of the child who was soon to arrive. In addition, she had to help her beloved, Alexei, who seemed to be completely alone in a desperate situation. Mariana had already realized that if she had any relatives, they had no desire to help her. Her parents, upon learning about their daughter, were beyond the bounds of grief at the fact that Mariana left home and gave no news of herself. Over time, they managed to reconcile, hoping to one day see their lost daughter, or at least hear from her. Now, however, all hopes came to an end. They were left completely alone. With only the memory of their daughter and the remorse of having lost her, they would never know where and how she lived, or where the plane flew. Anna's anniversary passed quietly and unnoticed. Most acquaintances already knew that the couple did not celebrate the holidays. Anna and Nikolai were planning to go to bed when the phone rang. Anna. As she got closer to the phone, she picked up the receiver. The late calls were still bothering her, though now there seemed to be nothing to worry about. Anna picked up the call because she happened to be closer to the phone and was heading to the kitchen to check if she had turned off the gas and all the electrical appliances. At that moment, a girl who claimed to be her granddaughter hooked up. She asked her to pick her up from the orphanage. "It's not a joke," she said, and explained that they weren't allowed to make calls, but she called secretly, "Please pick me up. It's not nice here. I want to live at home." The conversation ended abruptly and Anna stood with the phone in her hand. "What's wrong, Anna?" Nikolai called worriedly from the room. "What happened? Who was it?" The woman, still holding the phone, explained that she had called a girl who claimed to be her granddaughter, Chenya. "What are you talking about?" "Our granddaughter." "What nonsense are you talking about, Anna? How can you understand if she's our granddaughter or not? What are you talking about? This can't be. It's a coincidence." The conversation was interrupted. "No, she didn't make a mistake. She is our granddaughter. She called me by my first name, patronymic, and surname. She asked us to pick her up from the orphanage. Please, Nikolai, come on. Don't be nervous, Anna. It's impossible. We don't have and can't have grandchildren, unfortunately." Probably some prankster or a wrong number. Even if she was our granddaughter, she might have been forced to say such things. You know how many scams there are these days. They call and say, "Hello, Mom, send money." And some even fake voices. This could be one of those cases. Don't be angry. Let's go back to sleep. No, she didn't ask me for money. She just wanted us to pick her up from the orphanage. Please, Nikolai, let's go there and check. Maybe it's true. Maybe she really is our granddaughter. Hannah, you're letting your imagination run wild. We don't have a granddaughter. We never have. It's just a deception. Don't torture yourself with such thoughts. Go to sleep. And tomorrow we'll forget about this nonsense. But Anna couldn't forget. She drank water and a sedative. She convinced Nikolai that it was necessary to sleep and assured him that everything would be fine. He couldn't believe that they suddenly had a granddaughter and considered it a cruel and outrageous joke. He couldn't believe it, but he couldn't ignore what was happening either, especially considering Anna's condition. Understanding that this conversation would continue tomorrow, Nicholas called his close friend with a request. "Vasily, could you come to see us tomorrow? Something has happened. I don't know exactly what, but I need advice, maybe even help. Please, if possible, come with Vika." For some reason, Nicholas believed that Vasily and Vika could help him, thinking that the call was probably a coincidence that shouldn't be overlooked. The next morning, a major discussion took place in the presence of friends, relatives, and intelligent people. Nikolai and Anna recounted the strange call, putting it on trial. "I maintain that this is a joke, a hoax, or even a fraud." "Anything but an important matter," Nikolai declared. "I am not sure," Anna replied, her head bowed, indicating her firm stance. Vika watched, ready to seize any opportunity to criticize, while Vasily took a determined stance. "We have to investigate. There are quite a few fraudsters, but such cases are entirely possible. If Mariana did indeed have a daughter—" "Thank you, Vasily," Anna admitted. "Maybe I'm grasping at straws, but what other choice do I have? I'm sure it's not a mistake. It's the truth about my granddaughter. But do you think our daughter considered us so insignificant that she didn't even tell us when she gave birth? Can you believe that? After all, she didn't die in childbirth. I don't know why Mariana didn't tell us. Now no one will find out. But the girl, someone gave our phone number to that girl, and I want to know why. I'll go there myself and find out," Anna said confidently, saying goodbye to Alexei. Several days later, Anna got off the train in an unfamiliar city after a long journey. She had never traveled before, and the journey invigorated her, turning her into a surprisingly energetic elderly woman, surprisingly talkative, sharing stories about herself and her life. "I never thought I'd be attending my grandson's wedding. I'm such an old woman, and he is almost 30. She probably became a grandmother before her time." She smiled. "Yes, at 45 one becomes a fence, they say, but I am a grandmother, and he has not forgotten his grandmother. A long time ago, he was born weak with him, so I moved to the village with him to get better air and have our own food. There, my daughter and my 4 granddaughters blossomed." Valentina Fyodorovna's softly murmured narration accompanied Anna until she reached her destination. Anna took out a piece of paper with the address of the children's home. She tried to ask passers-by how to get there. Strangely, he didn't seem to be close by, and to her surprise, she found that she had to take a bus with a transfer. A trip of several hours. Since it was already time for lunch, she opted for a taxi. The talkative driver worked at the children's home. "Are you going to visit someone there?" he asked. "I work there," the woman replied, not wanting to go into details. Sharing personal details with a stranger was not something she particularly needed. She just wanted to talk, perhaps, about the difficulties of working with orphans. She couldn't do that. It's a shame for the children. They call everyone Mom and Dad. She mentioned, "I would kill those who abandon children." It's not always abandonment. There are tragic cases too, Anna replied reluctantly. I drive alone. What if something happens to me? I have 2 children. My wife won't let them, but think how hard it would be for her. Don't be so quick to judge. We have Yuri, a recent case. He's alive, but he was in the hospital. We have a family, 2 children. We were raising money to help. His wife doesn't work, and the children are small. The driver kept rambling, switching from one subject to another, until he was met with silence from the passenger. Only then did he look surprised and fall out. Finally, they arrived at a tidy house with a closed yard. It didn't seem like it was time to play. She knocked on the door on the intercom, explaining that she needed to speak to the director about a personal matter. Fyodor Ignatievich is not available now. Maybe he will be in the afternoon, was the reply. Disappointed but trying to find a silver lining, Anna thought, of course, I'm coming to see the director. It's the train, disheveled, with a travel bag like a sack. I have time to tidy myself up and he'll look presentable. She looked for a hotel nearby. She took a room. She showered. She changed and called the children's home. To her dismay, the director was not available today. Come tomorrow morning, a pleasant female voice answered. In the morning, she called her husband to tell him about her trip and that the wait might be long. Well, I didn't expect to get it right away, Nikolai said. He wasn't even sure that anything would work out, but with your determination, you face any task. I have been living with you for many years, and I never suspected these qualities in you. It is a pity that you did not show them before. When we needed to find our daughter, Anna thought, but did not say it out loud. But it does not matter. Let us not stir up old wounds. In the director's office, as she was preparing her speech, she was greeted not by a menacing older figure, but by an unexpectedly affable man. All her prepared words scattered, and her speech became a jumble. Yes, we have a girl, Zania. She is about 10 years old, but I do not understand your interest in her. How did you find out about her, and who do you think she is for you? He asked. I think she is my granddaughter, the daughter of my deceased daughter. I didn't know anything about her before. Now someone informed me, but I can't explain how it happened. It's a long story. Anna refrained from mentioning the phone call. The director listened attentively, and Anna, realizing her incoherence, regretted not having initially concocted a more acceptable explanation. Now she sat there, singing, making her arguments insignificant. However, the director was patient, waiting for her clarification. He didn't take anything the woman sitting in front of him said seriously. What do you mean, appear? And why are you interested in this particular girl? Esenio said. To answer that question, I need to know how she ended up with you. Could you tell me? He asked. I'm sorry, but I can't reveal that information. Even if it seems like something to someone, I deeply understand your loss, but I'm afraid the girl is not involved in this. At least I can see her for myself. But you must understand that you cannot go with her. I was hoping that I would give you the child based on the theory that she could be your grandmother. You are an educated and mature woman. You understand that the adoption or guardianship process is long and complex. I cannot give children to anyone who claims to be a grandmother. But if we forget about the relationship and the beginning of the adoption process, especially for this child, can I hope to succeed? What does Anna say? She replied to the director. The decision will not be mine. The child is already quite old. It's a big responsibility. And the relevant authorities will surely wonder why he wants this particular girl. I think it's better for him to go home and carry on as he has been doing, he added. Anne understood that further arguing and persuading was useless. She stood up without saying anything else, and without saying goodbye, she left the office. She didn't know what to do next. Going to these supposedly relevant authorities, trying to explain to them why he needed this girl, seemed like it would lead nowhere. But leaving, with nothing, was not an option. Not for herself, but for the sake of her granddaughter. He called her, asking her to take her away from the orphanage, where she was not doing well. She could not go on living as before. Whatever he said, Fyodor Ignatievich might be an intelligent, experienced man, a lover of children, and knowledgeable about the law, but she could not agree with him. She did not know what to do next. Sitting on a bench by the alley leading to the children's home, Anna was aware that tears were streaming down her face. If she was not allowed to legally meet her own granddaughter, she would observe the children and would certainly recognize her among them. Her voice sounded very much like Mariana's, so she must also resemble her mother externally. The girl knew she had a grandmother, so she would not be frightened. She would not be a stranger. The children went out to play, but they only played in the yard, not far from Anna's bench. Her eyesight did not fail her, but none of the children of the appropriate age showed familiar features. From time to time, one of them reminded her of Mariana. But on closer inspection, Anna realized that she was wrong. No one was paying attention to her, and after a day of observation, she was close to despair. She had not seen her granddaughter. No one came near her. Her husband insisted that she return, and she felt that this would not achieve anything. When her 5th shift was over, she got up and headed toward the hotel, not quite sure what to do next. "Wait!" someone suddenly called her. Anna turned around and saw an older man, frail and wrinkled. Although there was no one else there, the old man recognized her. "You are Anna, right? Where are you from?" She gasped, feeling that they would soon find out why she had gone there. "I will tell you now," the old man replied, "but let us go inside. It is not good to talk in the street." Anna, without hesitation, followed the old man to a small house. In her childhood, such houses were common near schools where lonely teachers or staff lived. So the old man had some connection with the orphanage, which was a good sign. Everything would be settled now. He worked here. "Do you work here?" he asked her as they walked. "Wait here. We'll talk inside," he answered, slightly out of breath. In the little house, he sat her down on a small porch and made tea. "Do you work here now?" he asked again as the tea boiled. "I worked here as a caretaker for many years, but now I live near the children's home." He called me Fyodor, just like the current director, only I am Fyodor Filipovich. "Do you know me, Anna?" he continued. She wanted to hear what this man had to say to her, Anna thought. "Yes, I know you and I've told you about Xenia," he said. "She's a good girl, affectionate. It's hard for girls like her to live at home. She was brought here when she was just over 2 years old. Some neighbors heard a little girl crying in an apartment. They knocked and knocked, but no one answered. They called the police. When they finally opened the door, the abandoned child was there. They called social services. "Where did she come from?" he asked. "The girl is the granddaughter of an old woman, but not of the one who rented the room. It was rented to him by a girl who lived there alone, and a boy visited her. Later, they saw the pregnant girl walking around, and eventually the girl was born. The guy never came back, and the girl died. The old lady, who was the neighbor, said that the guy had supposedly been put in jail. The neighbor, Klava, had previously worked as a nurse in another children's home. She died unexpectedly. I don't know why she died, and the woman, the girl's mother, left and disappeared without a trace. I buried Klava, but as for the girl, she was brought here. She only knew how to say her name. She was still very small. She was registered as Yevgenia Ivanova. Her mother died in a plane crash," Fyodor explained. "My daughter, Mariana," Anna cried. "Why didn't you inform me immediately? I buried that woman at that time and the apartment was empty. I preferred to live here. It's much better than dealing with all those tenants. My nephew recently got married. He cleaned everything up and told me to throw out everything unnecessary. He's a good boy. He didn't keep any rubbish." She found a folder in the attic and gave it to me. Out of curiosity, I looked inside and found a contract that Klava had made with that girl, renting her the room. The phone number was barely visible. There was also a letter with my name on it. Fyodor continued. With a trembling hand, Anna took a letter out of the envelope, wiping away the tears that ran down her cheeks. She was afraid of smudging the written words and proceeded to read the unfinished message. Dear Mom and Dad, I don't know if you can forgive me for everything I've done. I swear that I didn't forget you for a single minute. If I didn't keep them informed about me, it was only because I was ashamed, very ashamed to admit that I had made a mistake. Without listening to them, I went with Alexei, but I didn't marry him. He turned out to be someone else. He didn't leave me, but he committed a crime. He was convicted, and yet I still love him. Alexei didn't become my husband, but he became the father of my daughter. Now I'm going to meet him, and then I'll go to see them. I'm looking forward to introducing them to their little granddaughter. I told Zania about you, including your names and phone numbers. Thank you, Fyodor. I don't know how to express my gratitude. If it weren't for you, I would never have known about my granddaughter. Now, if someone could advise me on how to bring her home, I think no one is interested in keeping children in an orphanage when there are relatives who want to take them in. So don't give up on your plan. Approach the director. He's not a bad person. He takes care of the children, but he's a bit of a formalist. She always asks for documents. Even if you don't have them, go to the guardianship. Maybe the situation will be different there. No need to thank me. Tomorrow, go to the same bank again. I'll take Shenya to you, even if she resists. In the morning, unable to bear the expectation, she was already close to the observation point. Still looking towards the courtyard of the orphanage, she did not notice the bushes parting beside her. From there, she heard the voice of a little girl. "Grandma, it's me, Shenya. I'm here." The girl's voice was interrupted by sobs. Anna turned abruptly and, without examining the girl, ran towards her. "Shenya, you're here and we'll always be together. I'll never leave you." She realized that no matter who the girl looked like, she was hers. After all, they say that there is no one more precious than one's own children and grandchildren. Her daughter did not disappear without a trace. She left this child. In the evening, Anna finally, with joy in her heart, managed to call her husband to give him the good news. "Nikolai, there is no need to hesitate now. She is our granddaughter, our Zania. I will take care of the legal aspects, whether it is guardianship or adoption. I don't know yet. It depends on what's allowed, but I will definitely do it. Please don't worry. We'll be a family of 3 again soon. You're happy, Nikolai." Ecstatic. "Anna, I'm really excited. Don't stress too much. We have to take care of ourselves now that we've found our granddaughter." Anna's days are flying by. She was juggling between the orphanage, where she was finally allowed to meet her granddaughter, and the guardianship authorities, where she had to prove her kinship. They took a DNA test, although Anna didn't wait for the results. Her certainty of kinship with Shane was no longer linked to any scientific evidence. Every meeting with the girl reinforced her sense of connection to her daughter, to herself, and to Nikolai. With each passing day, Shen was already closer and more loved. The custody proceedings were progressing more successfully, and fate seemed to be on her side. At last, everything was in order and it was time to get the tickets. However, when the test results came in, Anna's euphoria turned to confusion. He read and reread the paper, shaking his head, and walked over to the window to look out. After a few deep breaths, he walked over and reread the results, which he felt had no bearing on the reality of his relationship with Zania. He threw the seemingly unnecessary paper on the table. Walking around the hotel room, he shrugged and thought, "What does DNA have to do with my love for this girl? She is the meaning of my life, the justification for my every breath. If she is not here, what am I good for? No. To me, this is of no importance. I'm taking Zania with me. She'll live with us because she's our granddaughter. She's not with Nikolai. However, I knew I had to discuss it with Nikolai. Hello, Nikolai. I have good news. Everything is in order, and I'll buy the return tickets today. We'll see each other soon, she said excitedly. Finally, Nikolai exclaimed. I was afraid I'd have to come and bring you home by force, but now tell me, what's the little problem? I got the DNA test today, and you won't believe what it says. She claims that Shen is no longer our granddaughter, completely ruling out any relationship. How do you feel about this news? Anna shared. Nikolai replied thoughtfully. Throw the test in the trash and forget about him. Don't tell him anything. Does he think we are his grandparents? The rest doesn't matter. We will tell the story of his return from his hometown, just as Mariana dreamed. At the station, a beaming grandfather greeted them, assuring them that everything at home was ready for their arrival. Shenya, you are an adult now. I have prepared a room for you. I have bought everything you need. But if something is missing, we will get it together. How am I supposed to know what girls your age need? I need a grandmother, and so do you, Shenya replied, a little embarrassed, but determined. Well done. I have always imagined you like this. Putting his hand on his granddaughter's shoulder, Nikolai realized for the first time that he had become a grandfather. On the way home, when Shen had already distracted himself, Nikolai whispered to Anna, What do you think of this? She looks a bit like me, doesn't she? I never took the DNA test. Maybe she is related to me on the other side. After all, the world is extraordinarily small. Xenia's dream came true. She went fishing with her grandfather. She played chess with him, and now she had her own room, where she could invite anyone she wanted. Everything was where he had put it, and there, the girl was truly happy. And what was more important, she had her family, who loved her more than anyone else, and whom she loved with all her heart. Nikolai and Anna were completely happy, having forgotten about the DNA test, which showed no relationship. Was there such a test? One evening, returning from work, Nikolai suggested, How about we dance, darling? Anna, bewildered in the kitchen, looked at her husband, understanding his reference to some taxes or some papers. She took the envelope, hid it, and quickly gave it away. Smiling, he read aloud. Dear Anna, we inform you that the results of the previous DNA analysis have been re-examined. The culprits have been identified and punished. A new analysis on the same material indicates that the probability of your relationship with Shen is now over 99%. The couple exchanged glances. They laughed, and Nikolai commented, The most interesting thing is that nothing has changed in my feelings and sensations. Who has come so soon, dear grandfather? He continued, hugging his wife and granddaughter. They were really the happiest at that moment. As the weeks passed, the household settled into a routine of joy and warmth. The once quiet rooms echoed with the laughter and chatter of the newly formed family. Xenia quickly adapted to her new surroundings. Daily activities became a shared adventure. Nicholas and Xenia frequently went fishing. Anna, with her kind nature, introduced Xenia to the joys of gardening, growing a small patch of flowers and herbs that added vibrant color and fragrance to their home. The trio spent their evenings playing board games, sharing stories, and making memories. Xenia's room, adorned with posters of her favorite musicians and books, became a sanctuary where she could relax, reflect, and invite her friends over. Anna, with her innate understanding of the needs of teenagers, created an environment that allowed Xenia to grow into a confident and content young woman. The community, at first curious about the unconventional family structure, soon embraced the trio. Neighbors became members of the extended family, offering support and acceptance. Seeing the family's genuine love and care, doubts and skepticism were dispelled, and the family became an integral part of the community fabric. One weekend, Nikolai hosted a small gathering at his home, inviting friends and neighbors. The atmosphere was filled with laughter, music, and the delicious aroma of home-cooked food. Zenia, who was reserved at first, gradually opened up, sharing anecdotes and dreams with the guests. During the meeting, a neighbor, Maria Ivanovna, approached Anna with a warm smile. "Shenya has brought so much joy to this community." Anna, touched by the sincerity of Maria's words, responded, "Love knows no boundaries, and family is not always defined by blood. Shenya is our granddaughter in every sense of the word, and we are grateful for the happiness she has brought to our lives as well." Months passed, and the family continued to thrive. Zenia's academic achievements were commendable, and her passion for music and literature flourished. Nikolai, despite being retired, found a new purpose in mentoring local youth, sharing his wisdom and experiences. As the years passed, Zenia grew into an extraordinary young woman. Her passion for music led her to pursue an artistic career and became a source of pride for her grandparents. Anna continued to be involved in the community, fostering a sense of unity and support among neighbors. Nikolai, in his role as mentor, inspired many young minds with his wisdom and compassion. The family home became a hub of creativity, intellectual debate, and shared laughter. The once unexpected journey had been transformed into a rich tapestry of love, resilience, and interconnected lives. The story of Anna, Nicholas, and Zenia became a source of inspiration for many in the community. It is an example of the beauty of chosen family, of the strength that love can give, and the ability of people to overcome challenges and create meaningful bonds. In retrospect, the initial uncertainty about the biological connection between Shenya and her grandparents became a poignant reminder that family transcends genetic ties. It reinforced the idea that love, understanding, and experiences could create stronger and more lasting bonds than any scientific measure. In the years that followed, Shenya's artistic talents earned her acclaim for her performances at local events, and her compositions permeated the community, becoming a source of inspiration for aspiring musicians. Zenia, now a young adult, reflected on the journey that brought them together. The twists and turns, the revelations, and the unwavering support of her grandparents had shaped her into the person she had become. The family story became a topic of local interest, and they were invited to share their journey at community events and gatherings. Her story resonated far beyond, reaching others who had faced similar challenges or questioned the conventional definition of family. Letters and messages poured in from people who found comfort and inspiration in the story of Anna, Nikolai, and Zenia. One such letter came from a young girl, Sophia, who had just discovered her own unconventional family history. Sophia shared her struggle with acceptance and fear of being judged by society. In response, Anna wrote a heartfelt letter with words of encouragement, empathy, and guidance. As their story gained attention, a local filmmaker became interested in documenting their journey. The resulting documentary, titled Threads of Love, became a moving portrait of a close-knit family. The film was screened at local film festivals, spreading the family's message about resilience and the power of love.